So with carbohydrates, if you're going to keep it to that 5% of your calories, right, it's going to be generally around 20 to 50 grams of carbohydrates for each individual. Some people it could be 50, some people it could be 20. It depends on where you're at, how much you're eating, and your level of insulin sensitivity, right? So you calculate it by getting your total net carbs. You're taking the total carbohydrate content of that food minus the fiber, and that's what you're going to get for your total net carbs. So let's take example, that meal I talked about, chicken, broccoli, and avocado, and maybe some olive oil drizzled on top. But let's look at the broccoli. So 1 cup of broccoli has 6 grams of carbohydrates and 2 grams of fiber. So to get your total net carbs, take 6 minus 2, you get 4 total grams of net carbs, right? Now if you ate 5 cups of broccoli throughout the day, that would only be 20 carbohydrates. So if you had 3 meals spread out of those 5 cups, you'd have plates full of a volume of carbohydrates, but it wouldn't be very dense in carbohydrates. It'd be very high in nutrition, but very low in terms of the amount of sugar that's going to be broken down into your body, right? So to contrast this, think about like a cookie, right? So 1 cookie, like a small cookie, has no fiber and has 9 grams of carbohydrates. People don't eat just 1 cookie, they eat like 10 cookies, and they go to town on that stuff, right? So they end up consuming like 100 grams of carbohydrates in 1 meal with no fiber. And that fiber is what slows the release of that glucose into the bloodstream. Remember, it comes back to that insulin, right? The glucose, insulin, the more glucose you have, the more insulin you produce, the higher your risk for obesity and all these diseases, right? So fiber is your friend, and fiber is in whole real food like vegetables and fruit, but it's not in the processed food. So we want to get rid of that and slow that down and get them to more eating vegetables. Really the golden rule is eat an abundance of non-starchy vegetables and some berries and a little bit of nuts, right? So berries are super high in antioxidants, but they're very low on the glycemic index. They don't really flood the bloodstream in sugar that much. And I say be careful about nuts because people tend to hear that nut is a fat and they go nuts on nuts like every single time. I had a friend who's like, I'm going keto, man, I just bought a big bag of nuts. And I'm like, oh gosh, don't do it. Because you're going to be putting on a lot of carbohydrates in your body at the same time, and nuts are very calorically dense. So think of nuts as more like a topper, right? Like sprinkle them on your salads, have a little handful as a snack, maybe once a day, but too much of that will throw you out of ketosis and not give people the best results.